Hi Stampers, this is Kim at Great Inspirations, and today I want to share with you some more of the cards that I made using the Butterfly Bouquet Collection, which features the Butterfly Brilliance bundle, the Butterfly Bijou Designer Series paper, and the Natural Touch specialty paper. And then in just a bit, I'm going to share with you some tips for using the stamp, which is basically a background stamp. I'll share some tips with you on how to get a good image if you want to use this as a background for a card, or if you want to stamp it to color the images and die cut the images. But first, let's take a look at the cards. This one was super easy. It's some of the Designer Series paper matted on some basic white cardstock, and then I just stamped a greeting. And then inside I took a piece of the Designer Series paper and just put it across the top of the insert to kind of add some interest. In this card, I just stamped the image on the front of a cardstock, or on the front of a card base, I'm sorry. And I added my greeting, and then inside one of the die cut butterflies. And this one is some Designer Series paper from Hydrangea Hill. It was just sitting on my desk, and I thought, well, that would look really nice with one of the butterflies. So this butterfly was die cut from the Designer Series paper, Butterfly Bijou. Then I just stamped a greeting. And then on the inside I put a strip of the Designer Series paper and another greeting. Now this is one of the butterflies. I stamped the images and die cut them, and then I colored, well, first I colored in the image and then I die cut it. And this is a piece of the Designer Series paper from the Butterfly Bijou. And then I just added some gems. Then inside a little bit more of the Designer Series paper. And for this, I just used two of the more detailed butterflies that comes with the dies set. Happy birthday, more of the Designer Series paper, and inside I just stamped a greeting. And this is a Z-fold card. I used the dies to cut out the solid butterflies, and then I used the detailed dies to cut out these and just glued them to the solid butterflies. Added a greeting and some more of the Designer Series paper. This more of the Designer Series paper. Happy birthday and one of the detailed butterflies. And this is a gatefold card, which is also an interlocking card. Inside, more of the Designer Series paper and another one of the detailed butterflies. Okay, so let's talk about getting a really good image for the butterflies if you want to just stamp the image for a background. Oh, wait a minute, let me show. This is, of course, the stamp set. We talked about that. And then here are the dies, just to refresh your memory. I think in my February 15th blog post, I show all the Designer Series paper, the specialty paper, the stamp, and the dies. But there they are again. And we'll take a quick look at the paper. This is that Natural Touch specialty paper. It comes in two 12 by 12 sheets, and it has a really nice, almost embossed, but just not quite. It's sort of a textured feel to it. And on the opposite side, there's a neutral design. And let me see here. Let's get the designer series paper. This is the design that you can put the die on, the large die, and cut out all the butterflies. Here's the back side of that. And this one has the pretty monarchs. This is the piece I used for this card. I just thought that was such a pretty designer series paper. I just didn't want to stamp anything on it. And then there's the background, or the back side. More of the pretty butterflies. More butterflies. I like the gradiated colors. The other side. More pretty butterflies. And more butterflies. And then the other side. Okay. Now that I've refreshed your memory about what the designer series paper looks like and the specialty paper, let's get on with talking about how to get this nice, clean, stamped background. Just move this card over here. Now, a lot of times, you can use your block. This is the largest block. I forget what the letter. It's letter F. The Stampin' Up acrylic blocks. And the stamp fits great right there on it. And I'm going to put just a plain piece of copy paper right there. And I have Coastal Cabana card base and some Bermuda Bay ink. So we'll open up the ink and we'll just stamp this. Or ink it up, I mean. I can tell it's a Monday. My thoughts are a bit scattered. Okay, now normally when we would ink up a stamp, we would just pick up the block and stamp it. But these large background stamps are a little difficult sometimes to handle. So if you can lay your cardstock on top, that sometimes makes it easier. So what I do, I kind of line it up, and as you can see, this design is bigger than the normal card base that is 4.25 by 5.5. I'm just going to get it on there as best I can. And then what I do, I just bring this piece of paper over the top. Sometimes I use my bone folder. Just press down and get the best impression I can. Now we'll lift off the cardstock. And there we go. There's our card front. So that's doing it using the block and the stamp. Now let me clean the stamp off, and I'm going to use my chamois. As you can see, my chamois is all yucky, and I still have some Night of Navy ink on me from using it a bit ago, and I had a lot of ink. Clean that off. It still needs a little work. There we go. And then I just take a piece of paper towel, or you can take a terry towel and just kind of go over it to make sure it's clean and dry and ready for the next use. So we'll remove that for right now, because the next way we're going to stamp it will be with the Stamparatus. And here's the Stamparatus. which I love it. I use it quite often. And it has the hinged plates that the stamps will cling to. It comes with 2 of them, so you can stamp in a couple of directions. And actually you could put a stamp on each side of these plates if you have a lot of stamping. You want to do 4 separate images. Now today we're going to be using a red rubber stamp, so we don't need this foam pad. And this is the deluxe foam pad, which is sold in the annual catalog. The Stamparatus comes with this one, which you can also buy a replacement pad like this in the catalog. But we don't need those today. I do have a piece of grid paper on here because what I do when I'm stamping a card base, I could put it up in the corner, but because this stamp is larger, it's a background stamp, and I don't want more of it to be to the left or to the right. I like it to be a little centered. What I do is I put my cardstock and I kind of line it up with the grid. That's why I like this grid paper. But if you don't have grid paper, that's okay, because all I do is I take a pencil and I just kind of mark the corners. Because obviously we're not going to be using the magnets, because this is just the card base and it's the size we want it to be. So if we were to use the magnets, the stamp would stamp over the magnet and we would have a blank spot on our card. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this out, and I'm going to place it on here just about where I would like it to be, to get many of the butterflies on there as possible. And then I'm going to close this up, get it on there really well, and now I'm ready to ink it up and stamp my card. I may need to scoot this down a bit so you can see, just because of the position of my camera. And I usually put the stamp case under the Stamparatus just to kind of make it level. And I'll ink it up. And this is the Magenta Madness ink, and I'm using a card base that is, what is it? Melon Mambo. Now I'm just going to get my card base back in these little corners that I drew, and now I'm ready to keep my grid paper in place, stamp. Just press it down really well. Open it up. That looks pretty good. I really like that. If you didn't, oh, I see if there's a place missed. So we need to re-ink, and that's fine. That's the good thing about a Stamparatus, because nothing moves. So you can go right back and go right over. Get it well stamped. And there we go. So whether you use the acrylic block or the Stamparatus, makes no difference, whichever works best for you. But you can get a really great background with this stamp. So there you go. Like I said, the stamp and the dies are available now on Stampin' Up at stampinup.com, the Stampin' Up online store. And the stamp and the dies will be available in the new annual catalog that comes out in May. The designer series paper and the specialty paper They are only available through May 3rd or while supplies last. So I want to thank you for joining me today. And if you would like, please hit that subscribe button and also the notification bell, and then you'll know the next time I upload a video. And if you would like more information about the cards I showed you, which I seem to have lost, honestly. I'm telling you, it's a Monday. But if you want more information about the cards, what I used to make them, all the supplies, the cutting dimensions, that kind of thing, it will be on my blog, and there will be a link to my blog in the description of this video. Again, thank you so much for joining me today, and until next time, stamp happy.